For those of you who have been following my channel since the very beginning, this is a re-uploaded video. This was actually my second ever video, and this is my Mario Kart 64 first impressions. I wanted to re-upload it since back when I did upload it the first time, I didn't have very much of a following at all. I had probably like maybe 20 subscribers or something, if that. So now that I have somewhat of an audience, I'd like to re-upload and see if you guys like it. And just to be clear, this is not an official review of the game or anything. This is just what I thought from playing it for the very first time. So first off, things like the intro and the UI and the HUD and all this stuff, it looks pretty good for 1996, as I believe the year it came out. The menu music is very nice and soothing, and just overall the music in the game is extremely good, as you would expect in any Mario Kart. The character selection is not the greatest. There's only 8 characters. These of course are like just the bare bones Mario Kart characters that you need. There are no different karts to choose from, which is a little bit disappointing, but again, with it being an old game on the N64, I'm not super disappointed in that. But in Mario Kart games, what matters the most to me is the actual driving and gameplay and the track selection. The driving in this game is pretty decent. It's definitely not the best, but it is better than games like Super Circuit, and it's also not as slippery as Double Dash. There's no unique gimmick to the gameplay of Mario Kart 64. I'd say it's the most basic Mario Kart game you can play. There's no unique mechanics. There's no tricking or flying or going underwater or anything like that. It's just Mario Kart. And I can appreciate that with the newer games wanting to be more gimmicky and kind of appeal to more of the younger generation. But I can appreciate what Mario Kart 64 did with their driving. Now the drifting kind of feels useless at times. I could go through most tracks and not even drift at all. I could just turn regularly and be fine. I'm not sure how I feel about that because drifting is a big thing in Mario Kart. The drifting kind of feels difficult at times, especially with the weird camera angle that it does, and overall it just feels unnecessary at a lot of times. But overall, I'd say the driving is pretty fair. It's not great, but it gets the job done. The items are fine. You got the most bare items you can: green shell, red shell, bananas, mushrooms, golden mushrooms, the shock, the star. Nothing too crazy, although one thing I've noticed is that the position and the items is just all out of whack. There have been multiple times I've been in second or third and gotten the shock, which should not be happening. And then there have been plenty of times I've been in 7th or 8th and I never got the shock. I've been in 1st and 2nd and gotten the star. It's just really weird. Not to mention red shells just don't want to work a lot of the times, especially on Rainbow Road. They do not work at all. They'll like try to go around you and they'll just hit the wall, and it's just super dumb. But despite all those things, the items are fairly balanced. Nothing just feels overpowered, which is what you want. Now the tracks are arguably the most important part in any Mario Kart game. If you don't have fun tracks to race on, then why are you even there? You're going to get bored very quickly, and it's not going to be any fun to play that Mario Kart. And that goes for racing games in general. Luigi Raceway is fine. It's your basic, starter track in the Mushroom Cup. Really nothing to say about it. Moo Moo Farm is a solid track, especially for a Mushroom Cup track. It's not better than Moo Moo Meadows, so if you think that, you are wrong. I don't know how I feel about the moles popping up out of the ground and just messing you all up. Other than that, it's fine, and it's just kinda there. I actually really enjoy Koopa Troopa Beach. I like the whole theme. I love beach tracks. The ramps everywhere are fun, and I absolutely adore the shortcut through the cave and the waterfall. Extremely fun to do and save some time. I didn't think I would like it this much, but Kalimari Desert is a top 5 track in this game, arguably. And I'm usually not a big fan of desert-themed tracks, but racing on this one just makes me feel good. The whole aesthetic of everything is just really nice and soothing, and you can't forget about the trains. Trying to beat the trains are extremely fun and really give a risk-reward to the level. Toad's Turnpike is pretty much what it's like driving through Atlanta. You're just on a highway and there are cars everywhere, and that's pretty much it. If you like chaos, you'll like this track. If you like slower tracks that have less risk, then you'll hate it. That's pretty much it. I'm somewhere in between. Frappe Snowland is just kind of there. There's really not anything too unique about this track. There's some snowmen and whatnot, and you got snow and ice and, winter stuff. But it's not even the best ice track in this game, so not great. Choco Mountain. I've played it a couple times now in this game. I've played in other games and I still hate it. The entire track is just one ugly brown color. It's super narrow, so it's so easy to bump into people and fall off. And if you fall off on the big spiral, then you don't even get brought back up by Lakitu, and you lose an insane amount of time, which happened to me, and it is so infuriating. Really just nothing redeeming about this track to me, but that's just my opinion. I just don't like it. Mario Raceway is a good track. Nothing too great about it though, it's just all around solid. I have fond memories of playing it in Mario Kart Wii. I don't know what it is about it, but it's just fun to play with the different turns and everything and the grass shortcuts and whatnot. It's just an all around good, solid track. There's probably one thing that comes to your mind when you see N64 Wario Stadium, and that is, it is too long. It's too freaking long. Depending on what CC you're on, it's going to take you probably at least 5 minutes. No track should take you that long. It's just insane, and it's not even the longest one in this game. Other than the sheer length, it's not a bad track really. Now, it's not the best Wario Stadium in the series, obviously. The DS one is way better. Every turn and everything looks the same. It's all just brown and Wario's face on everything. Aesthetically, it just does not look good at all. That's not even the graphics, that's just because there's no variety. It really reminds me of Choco Mountain, but it's less infuriating to play. Sherbet Land, top 5 track in this game. Maybe the best track if you take away the freaking penguins, because those things make me mad. Other than that, it looks great, it's fun to drive. The music is amazing. I could listen to that song all day long. Royal Raceway, good track. Nothing too crazy about it other than the long jump and the fact that you can go to the castle from Mario Kart 64. Just another solid track, reminds me of Mario Raceway. Bowser's Castle. This is easily one of the best Bowser's Castle in the series. A lot of things going on. You got the big Bowser statue that shoots fire even though it can't really hurt you. You've got a ton of thwomps everywhere, even a couple that follow you around. Those can be pretty annoying, but if you don't hit them, then they're fine. You've got bridges, you've got lava, jumps, sharp turns, stairs, a neat little grassy area. It really just has everything you want in a Bowser's Castle, and that's why it's one of the best in this game. DK's Jungle Parkway. I think I'd argue this is a top 5 track. The big spiral to the jump over the river in the beginning is really fun. The turns in the middle of the track are challenging, but are still fun to drive on. The bridge is great for throwing back shells and bananas. Now the cave, right before you get to the finish line, it looks pretty bad. It looks just like a big wall of poo. Other than that, the track is fun and the music is banging. Yoshi Valley is a beautiful mess. Obviously, the big thing about this track is all the different paths you can take, and they all kind of lead back to where the big Yoshi egg is. The funny thing about this track is you don't know what place you're in, because there's so many paths. The N64 could not comprehend who was in what place, so it kind of makes it a mystery if you're gonna win or get 5th or whatever. But I like that because it makes the track really unique. That's, as far as I know, the only track in Mario Kart history that has that. Now the track can be annoying to drive on, especially if you fall off, because it takes forever for Lakitu to get you back up. But if you don't fall off, it's actually pretty fun to play. And again, the whole not knowing what position you're in, it gives it a little bit of mystery. Banshee Boardwalk is like right in the middle for me. I'm not in love with the whole aesthetic and theme of this track. I've never been a big fan of like the more spooky tracks like the Ghost Valleys and whatnot, but it's decently fun to drive on, although it is easy to fall off. Not to mention the bats are really annoying, but at least the big Cheep Cheep jumps over you when you drive over that one part. Finally, we are at the famous N64 Rainbow Road. Now, when you hear that, there's probably one of two things that comes to your mind. Either the fantastic music or the insane length of this track. Why Nintendo did this, I don't know. This track takes around 6 minutes to complete, and I was playing 100cc when I completed it in just over 6 minutes. So it's probably close to 7 if you play 50cc. There is no way one single Mario Kart race should take 6 minutes. Now yes, the track is beautiful. I love things in the sky that light up, the characters and all that. The music is fantastic. But if they would have just made it 2 lasts instead of 3, it would have been almost perfect. The chain chomps are a good obstacle because there's guardrails all around it in the entire track, so you basically can't fall off unless you fall from the beginning, which I have done. And also if you fall off, it takes years to get back on. Not to mention the red shells don't work because they want to go around you and they just hit the wall. But despite all the bad things about it, it has a lot of good things and it's a really fun Rainbow Road to play, especially if you have a lot of time on your hands. So that's pretty much the gist of my first impressions of Mario Kart 64. I'm not going to go over the battle mode because you need to do multiplayer for that and I have no friends. If you enjoy Mario Kart, whatever game that may be, please consider subscribing to the channel. That's obviously what I'm going to be doing. I love Mario Kart very much and I enjoy making content on it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed and I'll see you in the next one.